themselves, you're more than welcome to do that. I have linked them into the new curriculum site under presentation. And then under presentations, you'll see set meetings highlighted in yellow. And then you'll go in at the very top is our set rep meeting for today. And I've just put the link there for you if you wanted to go ahead and make a copy of those for yourself or for future reference, okay? All right, we're going to get started. And Danielle is actually going to lead us in the French version of our land acknowledgement.
Le Créateur nous a donné cette terre. Sorry, I have a sign in front of my words.
It's up there as well.
Okay. Le Créateur nous a donné cette terre que nous avons la chance de partager et dont nous prenons soin ensemble. Le district scolaire de Calgary catholique reconnaît que la terre sur laquelle nous nous rassemblons, NCIS, est le territoire ancestral du peuple Siksika-Sitapi, les Siksika, Kainai, Piikani et Amskapi-Piikani. Nous reconnaissons tous les peuples Premières Nations et Métis du traité 7, y compris le peuple Tsuut'ina, ainsi que les nations Yetkabi, Bearspaw, Chiniki et Goodstoney. Le district scolaire Calgary catholique s'engage à faire progresser la réconciliation guidée par les vérités en respectant les lois des traités et en marchant humblement aux côtés des Premières Nations, des Métis et des Inuits. Nous reconnaissons tous ceux qui vivent, travaillent et jouent sur ces terres et qui considèrent désormais cet endroit chez eux.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Merci. All right. And Mary was going to lead us in our prayer.
And remind ourselves we are always in the presence of God. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. To God we pray, new life has emerged out of darkness as bulbs from winter soil. Jesus from the tomb, with peace in times of fear, with patience in times of uncertainty, with wisdom in times of doubting. Reach out, O God, with peace, patience, and wisdom in my own emerging new life in you. Amen. St. Paul, pray
for us.
In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much. Now, if at any time you can't hear us, please let us know. We are again trying out a different microphone as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody can be heard as they're presenting. So please do put the information in the chat or just on mute and interrupt us. All right, so our agenda for today, we're hoping to be done by 5:15. It may be 5:30, but we do want to go over some updates and refreshers, of course, subject spotlights. I want to take a bit of a deep dive into assessment and reporting because it is that time of year again, and then also to provide you a bit of information about next year. So as you can see from our timeline, we are at the end, and I did want to remind some of our set meeting reps, if you were here at the earlier parts of the cycle, you may not have the update to this, but I will not be able to provide guest teacher time at the end of this year as I had originally thought. So similar to last year, I was only able to provide it twice. If you have unique specific cases, reach out to me. We do have some funding, just not enough for everybody. But if you do think you could use some extra time or some support in that way, we can kind of think creatively about how we can support you in that. And then just finally, I've got a date set for May 28th for our final virtual set meeting. We'll be sending invites out to our set reps again with the link for that particular day and time. And we hope by that time we'll have most information available that will get us moving forward for next year. So I want you to have your chat fingers ready. Anytime you see this, sign this symbol. We're going to be inviting you to put information into the chat, and we will have the consultants who are here with me today monitoring that chat as we move forward. So have it ready. So the biggest thing is, the first thing is, what has been your biggest gem from newlearnalberta.ca? It was something we spent a bit of time with, and it was the one mission I gave all of you to go back and make sure everybody could log into New Learn Alberta. So what are you noticing? What are the big things resonating with teachers, with yourselves, as you've been digging into New Learn Alberta? So in the chat. Tons of resources. Thank you, Kimberly. Gizmos, awesome. And again, those gizmos are good for the science curriculum from this year as well, right? So you've got some additional supports. The boards are relevant. Again, those boards, think of boards as lesson plans or unit plans that either the ARPDC or maybe other teachers have put together. So your boards can be like a collaborative space like lesson planning, unit planning, sort of gathering and putting links to resources. Yeah, so lots and lots of resources. And, you know, the thing is, we keep discovering more and more resources. Danielle just shared me one that I didn't know was there today. So please do continue to look back as a resource for you to support you in where those next steps might be. So coming back and just spending a little bit of time in this space to see what updates are happening will be very, very valuable. The other thing is, for those of you that's, again, earlier in the set cycle, the new tile with the parent tab, that's something maybe administrators who are on the call here, you might want to bring to parents' attention. Those are really helpful and great French resources as well. Fabulous. So a gem that I shared with all of you, again, toward the end of the cycle, was the fact that students can have access to things like gizmos or little books or the readers that exist, the TrueFlix, which is the video flicks. So there's resources there for students or home use, and it just requires a login on New Learn Alberta through the login through my school account using our historical username and password that I have in red here. So some curriculum spotlights and updates. We're going to start off with science. And I believe Sheena is joining us virtually.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lynn. So we just wanted to start off reminding you about our big rocks and really the why behind the big rocks. The big rocks for science were purposefully chosen with the intention of providing opportunities necessary to develop the skills and processes needed for our students to become solution-minded. So through engaging in the processes of thinking like a scientist and the skills developed through experiential learning, we as teachers are designing opportunities that allow for these deep learnings to unfold through a cross-curricular lens. And so what that has led to is this learning framework. And so the reasoning behind introducing you to the learning framework during the last set cycle was because of these big rocks. So this framework is allowing our teachers to be the designers of their learning experiences. It's allowing them to develop lessons and unit plans that are rooted in deep learning opportunities, where our students' questions and curiosities are what are driving those experiences. And over the past month, our COP groups have been working hard behind the scenes to help us build out examples of what these learning frameworks can look like for teachers across K-3 in different organizing ideas. So pass it to Jolene.
Great, thank you, Sheena. Okay.
We can't hear Jolene.
Okay, sorry about that. So at the set meetings, we had you go through the framework and you were in groups, you did this jigsaw activity. And what we did is we brought together all of the ideas that you had for the 4 different sections. So if you actually click on this picture here of the learning framework, you will see all of the ideas from all 8 sessions or set meetings. So if you're wondering, kind of, you just want some other ideas, you can always go back here and there's a ton of ideas for you when you're going through and planning your lessons using the framework. Thank you. Okay. At the set meeting, we also gave you these 2 charts to take back to your schools. So hopefully all of your K-3 teachers have them in their classrooms and are able to use them. Don't forget that the QR code on the back links them to this teacher guide, and it explains how to use them in a couple of different ways. But what we would like you to do now is just when I say go, just enter the first word that comes to your mind when you consider the posters. Enter your first word into the chat. Okay, are you ready? Go. Differentiation, great.
I think we might have prizes coming for the first people that answer. That was quick.
Yeah, very good. Critical thinking, excellent, engaging, thought-provoking. Excellent. Lots of dialogue that can come from that. Great. Multi-tiered, excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so we're pleased to announce that our last multimedia text set resource board has been posted to our NCIS site, Living Systems, for grades 1, 2, and 3. Kindergarten does not have living systems in their curriculum. So you are more than welcome to go to the NCIS site. If you forgot how to find them there, you're going to the NCIS site, looking under your grade, resources, and then science, and you will find all of the boards linked there.
Just a reminder, if you have unmuted your mic, if you could just mute it, we're just getting some background feedback here.
Okay. And just a reminder of all of the boards that we have now available for you. Here they're all linked for you, but we would like you to practice going to the NCIS site also to find them. Okay. Upcoming PG opportunities. April 16th at Holy Name School from 4 to 5:30, we have a repeat of our K-3 Explorer Toolkit session. We don't have a lot of people signed up, so if you would like to join us for that, please feel free to sign up. You can find that in the LS Weekly. Also on May 16th, we have a repeat of a session that we held here today at St. Paul for Energy, Earth Systems, and Living Systems. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you can look for that and coming up in the LS Weekly as well. And then we would like to get kind of looking at next year. So we've got 3 days set aside here for 4 to 6 science teachers to collaborate and start planning. May 21st, we'll invite grade 6 teachers, June 11th, grade 4 teachers, and June 12th, grade 5 teachers. Now, we are limited to how many people we can have due to guest teachers, so you'll have to watch for that, and then you would have to sign up as any PG session. And our third session with Sylvia Duckworth is on May 3rd from 1 to 2, so please sign up for that. We've heard a lot of great feedback from classes using or following those sessions, so that's great. The Earth Day Challenge to win a Wonder Wagon. It's very good odds to win this Wonder Wagon. So right now we have 8 schools who have posted on the Padlet here to win this Wonder Wagon. Please don't forget to put the name of your school on there, because we can't really find out who you are if you don't put that on there, and then that's really sad for that school. So make sure you add your name and your school name to it, and we will share the winner's name or the school's name and the Padlet in the LS Weekly on April 18th. So don't forget. And here's just what the Padlet is looking like so far. We've got a list of possible contents. It's totally up to your school what you would like to include in that. But here's a list of what's included in this wagon. And then the schools who have posted so far, sharing their ideas and their adventures outside using their wagon. So excellent. Thank you so much to those schools who have done that so far. And I'll pass it over to Kim.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jolene. So I'm Kimberly. I'm your new curriculum ELAL consultant, working alongside Camille. Just a reminder about our big rock. So the idea of mentor text to help us to engage our students and to really be inclusive with our design of learning. The idea that we went from our balanced literacy to comprehensive literacy, and then finally, how do we fit this all in? Well, we fit it all in with our literacy block. So very exciting. You've probably already seen this cue chart. We used it last year for K-3 with our story stroll, but we've kind of upped our game now. So this is a great tool to use for assessing your comprehension with your students. So really, this would be familiar, the idea of within text, about the text, and beyond the text. So this is familiar from FMP. And so really is a guide, a tool for you to use with your students to see, are they having a basic level of understanding, a proficient level of understanding, or an in-depth level of understanding? I have linked on this slide deck the comprehension instruction strategies, some different games that you can play with your students that are all available on EPD, as well as I linked our FMP questioning technique within the text, about the text, and beyond the text. So if you're looking for this awesome tool, it is under the ELEL tips and tricks on the NCIS site. You'll see there's a little buildup of subpages, and you'll see there's a cue chart for comprehension assessment right there for you. So let's get those chat fingers out. So in the chat, what is the literacy launch?
And you can take a guess because I had to.
What is the literacy launch?
Mm.
The writing step.
Love it.
Celebration of literacy.
Okay.
Series, Barbara Mariconda. Increasing students' ability to write. Online hub. How to get kids interested in the topic.
Mm,
Awesome. Previewing a book.
love it. Awesome.
Awesome. So the literacy launch is really laying your foundations for your writing instruction in the classroom. So if you think about that narrative and informational writing that we do with our students, the literacy launch is the way to kind of get started with that writing. So you're looking at genre and organization, graphic organizers, the summary frameworks, and using annotation and analysis to really look and understand for those students, what is a narrative, what's in an informational, how is text organized in this? And so you're really doing that oral before you're even doing the written. And so this really lays the foundation and is a great cross-curricular tool as well, if you're looking for your social and science and math, but really lays that foundation for your writing block. So we did have hub access where you had all the Google Slides and videos and lessons that you could do to start with getting this literacy launch. But this did expire on January 30th. But don't fear, you still have access because you do have that narrative writing and expository guides for grades 4, 5, and 6. So that's one shared per 2 teachers. But you also have the table of contents. So you'll see there's a grade 4, a grade 5, and a grade 6 table of contents. And basically, you would look at that table of contents and know what lessons you would do from the narrative and what you would do from the expository. And that's your literacy launch. So you still have access to those. And so there's that grade 4, grade 5, and grade 6 table of contents. So if you're looking at where do I find all this? Well, on the NCIS site under resources, ELEL, there is a recorded literacy launch PG that I did right before Christmas time. And then right under there, you'll see a link for your table of contents for each of your grades. And of course, don't forget that if you were looking at your formative and summative assessment, we do have those narrative writing toolkits that were recreated with the new curriculum for grades 4, 5, and 6. And again, that's under that planning tools and templates on the NCIS site. Now, during our last set in person, we did let you know that the ELEL talks were coming and they are now live and on the NCIS site. So these are really 5-minute bell ringer activities that you can do with your students. And they're formatted in a Monday to Friday kind of idea. Of course, you don't have to use it that way. You might even see that some of these, you can even go further than 5 minutes, but really it's just something to get started with. They are all directly connected to our curriculum, and we tried to find things that maybe you're not going to spend a lot of time on. So for example, grade 6 palindromes, they have that in their weekly talks. So where would you find all these fantastic resources? Well, again, on the NCIS site, under that ELEL tips and tricks subpage, there is an ELEL talks for grades 4 to 6. So you can just go and click, and then you can download a copy. So we thought we'd have a little fun tonight. In the chat, you see this is one of the activities, Morphology Monday.
But it's Tuesday.
But it's Tuesday. That's okay. So which word? Now there are multiple answers, so don't fear. Which word doesn't belong? So twinkle, twist, Thursday, or twilight, and if you could tell me why.
Mm.
Thursday doesn't start with WT. Proper noun.
Mm.
Lisa, we got to know why it's twist. Oh, Leslie, one syllable. Nice. Awesome. So you can see how this kind of creates some great discussions in your classroom, gets students engaged, and great way to start off your literacy routine.
What's that? No I. That's a new one. Nice.
This is going to start debates.
Right? Exactly. That's awesome.
All right, so just a reminder with the Reading A to Z platform, it was purchased for grades 1 to 3, or K to 3 last year, and then repurchased for 1 to 3 this year. And we do have some additional licenses that we are giving out for grade 4 to 6 teachers and DLTs. All we ask is you come and I will teach you for 30 minutes how this resource can really support you in the classroom. And then you have a license for the rest of the year. So I do have, this is my 3rd session I'm holding. This is for the early birds. So on Friday, April 19th, it's already in Power School Professional Learning. You can sign up and it's directly linked on these slides as well. And then you can come and learn about the fantastic resource and walk away with a little prize as well. And so just ending with some PG opportunities. So for all teachers on May 8th, anyone who's new to teaching, so you're in your 1st or 2nd year, we're going to be hosting a session kind of on planning and everything you need, because I mean, it's a hard job, especially being in your 1st and 2nd year. So we wanted to support you. And then grades 1 to 3, we do have some intervention PG that are coming up tomorrow and Thursday, but we also have one on June 13th. So this will just be like kind of a refresher for Div 1 on new curriculum. And then finally for grades 4 to 6, we have a session April 17th on new curriculum. This is full, but we decided to host a couple more sessions. So on May 7th, we have a grade 6 new curriculum only. And then on May 15th, we have a new curriculum for grades 4 and 5. And that is it for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's my turn. I'm Danielle Gentili. I am a new curriculum consultant for French Immersion Language Arts and Literature, and I work alongside Suzanne Rolofs, maternelle à 12e année. And just keeping in mind in all our lessons, always at the back of our head is the neurolinguistic approach, engaging students, and vocabulary-rich classrooms. So by now, this document is pretty familiar to French immersion schools. I've gone over it with all the DLCTs, who also have gone over it, hopefully with a lot of your teachers. I just wanted to make mention that there's a new section that's been added to this document. This is our scope and sequence. Our COP, our working group, has been working really hard to create UFly style games and centers to go with each individual sound for each grade level. So grade 1 has been updated. All the games are linked to the document, and grade 2 and 3 will be out there fairly soon. These games are great. They can be printed off, put into plastic sleeves, and used as centers for another engaging activity. As for my spotlight, I wanted to just bring this forward. Les Comptes qui Comptent is a financial literacy resource that was purchased at the end of last year. So we've done some PG around it. It allows students to explore money, provide strategies and responsible money management, while also touching on outcomes in math, French, and French language arts. One of the cool things is this year, you can actually find all of the student books on New Learn, and those books can be read to students, right? And as I pulled up a book, I was able to see that it addressed a French language arts, a math in grade 2, a math in grade 3, and a physical education and wellness outcome, just with one book. So it's nice to see those on New Learn right now. We did a PG session with Apprentissage Illimité, the creators, the week before spring break. So that link is now on NCIS under each grade level French resources. And just a quick note that Jolene and her group have been working super hard to create resources as well in French. So the poster resource has been sent to schools, as well as a whole resource board just for us on Système de la Terre. So we're really grateful for that. And hopefully your teachers have had time to explore it. And just a reminder on EPD, under the elementary English, there are documents that have been created teaching English language arts in French immersion. Go ahead, Lynn. For Division 1, it's intended to assist French immersion teachers with planning for the ELAL outcomes in their classroom. So it's really nice. It's been divided into what can be taught in English language arts and what can be taught in French language arts. Division 2 is still based on the old outcomes, but it's a useful document that connects religion as well as what to integrate into FLA. And then our PG opportunities coming up. April 11th from 4 till 5, there's a virtual session again with Apprentissage Illimité on Bien Jouer. That's the resource that was purchased to help with French oral communication and all those many games associated. So we'll learn how to use those in our classroom. And just to reiterate the K-3 Explorer Toolkit, I'll be there as well at Holy Name with the science consultants. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia. So I am Mary Chan. If for those of you who don't know me, I am the new curriculum math consultant for this year, and I work very closely with Jessie Zinutig, who is our elementary math consultant. You'll get to know her well over the next 5 years, and Laura Grulich, our Spanish bilingual consultant. So just to get us started off, I invite you to think for a moment of how are you getting your students thinking like a mathematician, one of our big rocks there. Let's just give you a second to think about that. Are you able to do that? I listen to the thunder. And then how are you able to integrate this new vocabulary into our math program? Have you been able to introduce students to all of these new words? Oh, nice, Emma. And then thinking about that concrete representational abstract, how are we able to go from that concrete hands-on manipulatives into the representational and into the math? Oh, math talks. Okay, well, hopefully we've got those brains awake and thinking about math right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessie to talk a little bit about this exciting math-a-thon.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. So we want to share a huge success from one of our schools. Shout out to Divine Mercy School and Christina Popescu, who I know is here right now, and her team. They piloted a math-a-thon this year. They have a numeracy focus in the school for the year, and so they thought they would culminate all of that work with a math-a-thon. So we worked very closely with Mathy Adventure, decided to use them as the platform for the math-a-thon. And it ran over 2 weeks where kids logged in at school and at home and played various online games. And so the results were that there were 697 students who participated, and they logged 65,302 minutes of gameplay. So that's really amazing. It was a huge success. We're all really excited about how the math-a-thon went at Divine Mercy. So we've decided to roll it out to more schools. If your school is interested in doing a math-a-thon next year, reach out to the math team, and we are happy to support this. We're happy to take on more schools next year to roll out this awesome opportunity for you. So thanks.
And there is some limited spots to this for the end of the school year, but just very few.
Yeah, we're coming pretty close to the end, but if you really want to run one by the end of the year, we're happy to support, but also looking forward into next year and planning for the future.
Great. Well, we've been waiting for some updates with Mathy Adventure and the Mathstoria platform. So remember that Zorbits is our K-3 platform, Mathstoria is our 4-6 platform, but of course you have access as teachers to all of them, and you can go back and forth between the two, Zorbits and Mathstoria. But Mathstoria is the new platform that we've been waiting for. So we have finally got a few updates to bring to everybody. So one of the biggest ones is the audio support. So now students will be able to press a play button and have questions read to them. So that's a really big feature for our ELL students, for our students who aren't very strong readers, and hopefully that now won't hold them back with the math. So that's a really big feature. Also, we have introducing an adapted math keyboard, which is a little bit clearer about what keys to use. And also we have the aerial partial product model is now a little bit more clear, with interactive with better flow of how to use it for division questions. We also have the number line. We heard a lot of teachers with students who struggled with the number line, so they have improved how that works to make it a little bit easier to use. Oh, Roshina, here, yeah, we were hearing that everywhere.
Yeah.
And then also we have, so the game guide. So we have been waiting for this game guide. So the way that the Mathy Adventure has developed it for the Mathstoria platform is a little different than how the Zorbits one is developed. Now, what they've done is, rather than wait and give us one giant update, they're giving it to us as they build it. So this is the first of 3 updates is now available. Now, how they're doing this is they're going to model the game guide is showing you how to use the different models within the games. It's not specific to a game. So it's just showing you, okay, this model kids might find tricky. So here you can show them how to use this model. So that is with the Mathstoria game guide that is now available. And so hopefully when I've gone out to schools, I have shown this. So if you haven't seen this before, this is the data that the online gameplay will give you. So when you go to the little report tab on the side, you have to toggle the grade. Sometimes it bumps to the wrong grade. So you toggle the grade that you are teaching or that you're looking for, that you've assigned the work in or the kids have been working in. And you can see we have all the students will either be red, yellow, or green for each individual concept. So if it's red, it's probably too hard. It could be technical issues. If the kids got stuck on the game, then that could be the problem, or it could be a lack of understanding of that concept. Yellow is kind of our just right. That's that zone of proximal development. The kids might be making a mistake or two, but they're learning from their mistake and they're moving on. And that's kind of where we'd like to be.
Green generally means it's too easy. If kids are playing at home, green's probably perfect. But at school, green might be a little bit too easy. They could use a little bit more of a challenge. So when you go into your data, into that game progress report, you'll see this. If you click on the concept, it kind of expands it all to all the different things that are a part of that concept. And then you can, if you click on the kids who are red, you can see, okay, they're having, in this picture, they're having an issue with represent numbers to 100,000. If you click on that, it'll link you to all of the support assignments that you can find within Matthew Adventure to help with that particular topic and reinforce those skills. So it's a pretty cool thing there. Matthew Adventure has also given us some more updates. So this is on mental math. So something that a lot of students are struggling with is mental math. And so what they've done is they've created this lovely document that goes into math talks, games, and exploratory activities within Matthew Adventure's offline resources. So what I've done then is I took theirs and then I made it possible for everybody in our district to have access. So DLTs, DLCTs, you have access to this as well. If we could click the next one, Lynn. So this is what it looks like. This is a little screenshot of it. So this is an example of exploratory activities. It tells you what it is, what grade it's recommended for, what they'll do. And then it has the English, French, and then Spanish. So French and Spanish, if it says Canva translation, that means I ran it through Canva. The translation may not be perfect. It's Canva's translation, not Matthew Adventure's translation. When you go into anything that says Canva translation, I left this teacher page in English just because I figured there would be too many mistakes otherwise. And I only translated the student pages because of course that's what the students need to have. If French teachers, if it says French and it doesn't say Canva translation, it's the Matthew translation. It should be good. Okay, so all of those are on our NCIS site. You can go under any grade resources, scroll down to where you find Matthew, and you'll see mental math resources, and you can click it there. It's also linked to this slide deck. And we have one more session with Boxcars and One-Eyed Jack. So we have had a great experience with them this year. John and Jane are coming back to St. Paul, and we're going to do one last session. So April 16th, they are coming back, and this is going to work very similarly to how the January session worked. So we'll have a Div 1 presentation from Jane in the morning and Div 2 in the afternoon from John. So we have enough guest teachers for 25 schools to come. So the guest teacher would cover the Div 1 in the morning, Div 2 in the afternoon. So any interested schools if the admin could just email me and let me know that their school is interested and you have a Div 1, Div 2 teacher, just let me know who they are. And then what we'll do is I've created a lovely spreadsheet. If you've never come before and you're interested, great. Hopefully there's enough space for everybody. If you did come to January and your teachers are still interested, if there's room, we'd be happy to have you. So if you just want to send me a little email, tell me if you have teachers who are interested, and then we'll see. I'll let you know if we have space for you. If there are too much interest, I'll do what I did last time and I'll do a little Philippine. And last but not least, we have our professional growth coming up. So we've started a numeracy cafe with Lydia Wong, our secondary math consultant. So they're always the last Thursday of the month online between 7:45 and 8:15 a.m. So our next one coming up at the end of April is building multiplicative reasoning. And at the end of May, we're going to talk about the trouble with algorithms. So those are nice, quick and easy sessions you can do just before school starts. And as Kim had mentioned, we're having ELL and Math New Curriculum PG coming up. And that'll be in person at St. Paul. So May 7th, just grade 6, May 15th, grade 4 and 5. And more information will come out in the LS Weekly for that. And I think that's it for me.
Great. Thank you so much to the consultants for all the work that you're doing and by extension to our communities of practice, our working groups, and all of you who are here to support the work as well. And we know that it's been a lot, and we've been paddling really hard this year. And for K-3, we've been paddling hard from last year, and just want to really credit everyone who's been so involved and engaged in this implementation. Again, we couldn't do it without this collaborative teamwork that we've been experiencing. So just a huge thank you. So said admin reps, teacher reps, I know I shared this slide with you and said, you know, there's ways that we can share information, but it tends to be a lot more organic and less formal. Maybe just a few minutes at a staff meeting to bring attention to bring it sort of to the forefront of all that's going on in your schools. But I'd like to know now in the chat, one thing that's resonating with you from today, from that you'd like to bring back to your colleagues. What's one thing that is resonating with you? Maybe some questions, some comments, some connections that you're making, things that you want to kind of bring to the forefront as you are, you know, embarking over the next couple of weeks in your school. Yeah, so PG opportunities, new features in Mathia, some of the PG, Learn Alberta. How to use the current resources, some Mathia changes. Yeah. 5-minute ELAL talks. Again, those are sort of hot off the press. Bringing in a consultant to speak to, yes. And I know the consultants have been out and busy, and I know some were out there today in schools. So yeah, as best as we can, for sure, we want to be there. But knowing that you are also a wealth of information, you've had the opportunity to be part of these set rep meetings. Now, some of you for 2 years. And so again, believe in yourself, you know a lot as well, but certainly the consultants love to come out. So if you can book them and get them in, that's great as well. Yeah, resource boards and literacy launch, you bet. Yeah, Camille, I know she was out at a school today as well. So yeah, that's great. And so those are the things that as you're thinking about ways that you can cross-pollinate some of this information, you have a lot of knowledge. And you may think you don't have enough, but you have enough, trust us. To know what's resonating with you is likely going to be resonating with your colleagues. Awesome. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about assessment and reporting. Let's take a sip of your coffee or your water. I am going to go through a bit of that information with you. So in the chat, what needs to be assessed and reported on? And I am looking for 100% here. And I should have this chat filled with right answers. Learning outcomes. I love that with all the S's on the end. You bet. The learning outcomes. Full disclosure, when I asked this question early, about midpoint last year, we did a survey. It was a game we played, a Kahoot, and only 28% got it right. So it was our mission this year to make sure everybody 100% got this answer right. So you are correct. It is the learning outcomes that are to be assessed and reported on. I really should, and I might yet. or maybe don't get lost in the weeds, because that's another favorite of mine. So as we'll talk about a little bit here. So again, yes, correct. The learning outcomes must be assessed and reported on. And of course, the CUSP, the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures, are what are supporting our understanding of the extent to which a student has met that learning outcome. And it really is, when we think about it's all about the verbs. Of course, the nouns and the content is important as well, but really honing in on the verbs. And one of the cool things that Mary actually shared with me is the ARPDC, the Alberta Regional PD Consortium, has put together some amazing toolkits, and we've linked them in the slides that are available to you from this session, where it really does take those verbs and define them, certainly from a math perspective, but this is relatable to all. So for example, interpret. If an outcome were to say to interpret, or a CUSP were to say interpret, what does that mean? Like, how can you get tangible evidence around that verb? And so in this case, it's looking at things like, are they able to draw a conclusion? Or are they able to explain the meaning of something? Or are they able to identify some key features of the information? Again, Kim shared with us some of the verbs, some of the ways that you may be able to scaffold even questioning techniques, like your questioning posters. So how are they interpreting using different layers of depth of understanding with the cue chart and then with the verb? So using sort of this toolkit now, this has been provided on the ARPDC site, and you'll see when you click on those links, there's even more information that the Alberta Regional PD Consortium has built out for teachers. So when we look at this particular grade 2 outcome, it says students investigate addition and subtraction within 100. So the key verb there is investigate. In the grade 4 math outcome, it says they are to explain the properties of prime and composite numbers using multiplication and division. So the question to be asked is, when you're assessing students, is to what extent have they demonstrated that outcome? So when we look at an English language arts and literature example around fluency and comprehension, we are looking at this learning outcome that talks about, again, that question around to what extent has a student been able to apply fluency strategies? So it's one thing to know fluency strategies, but how are they applying it? How are they demonstrating that? Or how are they developing in their reading comprehension? Right? It's not about them having mastery in reading comprehension and getting every answer correct. It's about how are they developing in that? To what level are they developing their comprehension? And then, of course, we've got our CUSPs, our knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures, which are based on your activities. Those are the activities, the lessons you're probably honing in on. But again, not all are weighted equally. You're sort of picking and choosing which ones are going to help support the development of that learning outcome. Not all are weighted equally, and not all need to be reported or assessed on. So the question is, how do you know? So you've got your products, your observations, and your conversations. It all counts. And this is where triangulation is so important. So imagine, and some of you from last year may have seen this, the Calgary Regional Consortium shared this with us and thought it was fitting for tonight. And so just imagine you've got all this data. Imagine, oh my gosh, how do I even start? How do I kind of get some focus around my professional judgment? Because it is quite subjective. So as a Coast Guard would, if they're trying to find a specific sort of understanding of and direction, one sort of coordinate, a product, for example, isn't going to really give you a lot. It's going to give you some, but it's really not, again, you're trying to validate your decision. So to get more confidence, perhaps having two different ways, like products and observations, right? Giving you a little bit more of a sense of pinpointing where that student is at. And then finally, of course, we know that 3 views, observation, conversations, and products, that is going to give you as teachers more confidence that you are providing the best decision on finally that final decision around achievement level. So again, in your year, when it comes to the end of the year now, and you're having to make a decision based on, again, all of the data you've received based on observations, conversations, and products. So now you're saying, oh my gosh, so within this whole year, to what extent has the student met this learning outcome, or even more importantly, how they've met this whole subject area of learning outcomes. So for example, in English language arts and literature, we see a whole bunch of outcomes related to text forms and structures, oral language, vocabulary, phonics and phonemic awareness, comprehension, fluency, conventions, and writing. So there's lots of learning outcomes. So if we think of the lighthouse as overall, kids have been on a journey toward this particular subject content, these concepts you've taught within this anchor of ELAL, your lighthouse. So, and you've used your CUSPs as ways to kind of move kids forward in the different outcomes, right? And you've done a lot of incredible work. We've seen it, we've heard it, we've chatted with you about it, and we're just so excited about the amazing work happening in schools to bring learning to life for kids, to help them travel along their pathway of learning toward that goal, that end goal. But at the end of the day, you have to say, what achievement level am I going to provide them now? That's a lot. It's a lot for you to synthesize to come up with a triangulation that you can be confident on based on your professional judgment. So we know that we have different levels of which, different, I guess, places that kids will be on in their journey toward this ELAL content. And so when we're looking at, to what level have they demonstrated outcomes consistently or an in-depth understanding of it, using again Kim's example, are they able to answer those, beyond the text type of questions? It's more of an EX. Are they able to answer more of a proficient? They're developing a pretty solid understanding of the content or those outcomes that you've been focusing on. Or a basic level, right? They have a sort of a general understanding. They're getting it, not all the time. Maybe they need some support, or they just not yet, or it's so inconsistent. You as a professional can't make a professional judgment because you don't feel you have adequate evidence in order to know where the students are on that pathway of that outcome. And then, of course, we've always got cases of no mark where, student has been absent. We simply don't have enough evidence to be able to move forward with a decision. So here's an example. So in the chat, put in what you think, what achievement level, and this time don't put it in right away. We're going to do a chatter fall, which is when I say go, you're going to put in what you think the final end of year progress report achievement level will be based on the fact that on these particular 4 outcomes, we know we have 7 to 12 in each subject area, but on where you've assessed them in the different outcomes, you've got an EX, an EX, an AB, and an EX. So when I say go, not yet, good job, you're doing a good job so far. Think about it. What, not yet, what achievement level would you provide? In 3, 2, 1, Chatterfall. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it's somewhere between EX and AB, exactly. For me, excellent is, are they showing an in-depth? And maybe one, again, if you've got 12 outcomes and one is an AB, you're probably going to give them the EX, right? If you've got less outcomes, or that particular outcome was a really important one based on the number of cusps, and you felt that that was a critical one, you're going to maybe lean toward the AB. So this is where you get to make the professional decision. In elementary, we don't particularly use percentage. We want to kind of stick with the achievement level indicators. I know in the past, I've converted those to percentages, but trying to, again, get the more of a progression of learning sort of concept with students is helpful as well. Perhaps in Div 2, you're using more of the typical scalings, but is trying to think overall that big picture of the extent to which a student has met that learning outcome. Because you also may decide, and one of the debates we had here was, what happens when you've taught writing all year long? So one of the outcomes, writing. The beginning of the year, the student was not able to really extend their thinking, not able to show a variety of vocabulary use, but now toward the end of the year, they have. Do you have to count the stuff at the beginning of the year? No, you don't. You get to make the professional decision at the end of the year, by the end of the year, to what extent has a student met that learning outcome? So you get to again gauge that based on your professional judgment, and you know where a student is or isn't at the end of the year. So trust in that, but then make sure you've got a sense of understanding around how you can use the data to make the most informed decision. What about this example? Not yet, just when I'll count down again. What achievement level would you provide on this one? Not yet. I'll give you a second to think. Oh, she got it. Okay, Chatterfall. Anyone else agree? Disagree? Yeah, and certainly in this case, again, I'm using only 4 outcomes, but if the pattern were to continue with the other, 4 or 5 outcomes, then certainly this would be a not yet scenario. Now, notice if I hadn't put the stars on at all, it would have mean I couldn't even do the assessment, so it would have been a no mark. But because we've done some assessments that the kids just simply haven't gotten it yet, again, at this time of the year, it would be a not yet. Certainly if it was the midpoint of the year, we would be having SRTs, conversations around getting an IPP or a learning, that just dated me, an LSP in place. But right, but at the end of the year, you are having to make some of these determinations, but those are important conversations to have well ahead of time with parents. If you've got kids sitting in this level, we should be starting to have conversations already with parents. No surprises. And again, depends on, I love that, Kathleen, depends on the weight of the outcome, exactly. If one of those outcomes, for example, was a really big one and you've seen some integration, it also may be in how you've been assessing. So you might move some of those not yets based on other activities you've observed in the classroom as well. So this is just a way for you to tease out your professional judgment. All right, the next one. Not yet. When I say 3, 2, 1, and I'll count it down. Think about it. It's a bit trickier. I gave the easier ones first. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, exactly, right? So most of you are pretty consistent with this one. You know, you've got some strengths in some area. We've got sort of a not yet. We've got some ACs. We might want to do some reassessment on the not yet one because, or again, thinking your assessment, if it was a paper pencil assessment, a product assessment, you may want to think maybe a conversation. And maybe it was just a misconception or a bad day for that student, right? So thinking about the ways that you can make sense of that. But yeah, likely an AC. Again, we want kids to all have 100% on everything, but we really have to almost debunk that myth. Not every student, not everybody, I certainly never did, get 100% on everything. So that the goal shouldn't be mastery. The goal should be, do the kids know where they are on this pathway of learning? And that's where the magic happens. Exactly. It depends on the child, their learning situation. And that's the beauty of this, is you have the freedom to be able to think about how you apply it and where you might want to do some reassessment when you're making that final decision. And the last one, you're getting good, so I'm not going to give you as much time. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Yeah, you guys are getting the hang of it now. Okay, so now, again, based on where, again, you're going to make your professional judgment and you're going to look at those individual situations. But yeah, likely they've done really, really well on some of them. Some of them, this is one we see a gender bias on. So if I'm using ELAL, sometimes what I noticed in my career was some of our boys tend not to, and I'm totally generalizing, but tend not to be able to, I had a lot of boys who struggled with expanding their writing. They were very technical almost, and so we did a lot of work on building out our sentences, using a variety of vocabulary, but they really struggled. They were very to the point type of writers. So would score not well, again, sometimes on, or not well, but would probably score more closer to the AC range when it came to some sort of narrative writing. But when we did opinion or nonfiction writing, man, could they make an argument, right? So so you've got to kind of give a bit of grace here as well of thinking beyond the particular outcome. And so, yeah, in this case, you know, they're never really going to be a strong sort of story writer. I'm certainly not. But being able to, but give me a nonfiction or an essay or a technical type writing and I'm there. So being able to kind of balance that out when you're looking at it is, yeah, so does. Okay, I'm going to come back to the comment, Kathleen, because I want to make sure I understand it, okay? All right, so, yeah, exactly. So this is the bias and the education and the opportunity that we have to, again, almost demystify reporting. There's so much research around how grades actually have a negative impact on student learning. So the more we can kind of open up this idea that of progress and learning progression and celebrating that growth, and that mastery is not the goal. It may certainly be the achievement of some, But mastery is never the goal. It's the learning along the way and that pathway of learning that will continue to be built over time. And it changes as a student matures, grows, their situation changes. So again, I wanted to just sort of give this perspective to you, just to get you thinking about the ways you can navigate all of that data. Of course, we have here, yes, thank you. I got that once I finished reading your chat, so thank you. So when we look at progress reports and supports that are available to you, under reporting in our new curriculum site, again, this is review for you, and we've heard great feedback and people are loving this support. I just want to bring attention. I know we've got some new teachers in our schools. Please make sure that they are aware of this resource and this support. If you've had new people come in, or maybe you've had guest teachers covering classes, please do take a minute, bring that to the top of your list to share this curriculum progress report STEM guide with them so they can start thinking about it. Again, we've got so much information included in their videos of how to do stuff, and also reach out if they just need help. We'll do our best to support those that are, just so overwhelmed with starting sort of partway through the year. And then we have, again, this guided process, which we rolled out last year, and we touched on it this year. Many of you are using it. But when it comes really to think about, we want to get to this goal of being able to put together this comment of what you focused on, what kids have strengths in, and what they're encouraged to grow in. And so with the reflection tools, just bringing back to what we did a lot of last year, but you may have not been involved as much this year, with the guided process and the video we have online linked into our supports, you can see we've got the reflection tools that have the learning outcomes, the skills and procedures, just quickly summarized for you. Because what you can do in this case is ask, when you look at it, what I recommend you do is take the reflection, think of a student, especially if you're struggling with making that decision of where they're at on the pathway of learning, and highlight 3 colors. Pink, what are they really stuck on? You don't have a good sense of that they got this. Yellow, what are they going? They're trucking along. They're at that AC level. They're doing pretty good. They're halfway in the pathway. And then green, what are they they're there at the lighthouse. They've arrived, or they're really close to arriving. And then just look at all the colors. And you have lots of greens, lots of yellows, lots of reds, and that'll give you another way to think about the pathways and the final culminating grade of where you feel the student is at. And again, remember, you're reflecting on your observation, conversations, and products, and it is your professional judgment, but knowing you have confidence that you have triangulated this evidence to support that decision in moving forward. Finally, we have our math talks, or our math supports, our teacher talking tips. I shared with all of you at the last set meetings that we are still deciding final progress report comments for math. Our instruction to all of you has been, you are in grade 4 to 6. We know that there's 2 to 3 years of learning and bridging that needs to happen. So you're using your professional judgment on, again, to what extent is the student met that outcome, but they could be moving toward that, the evidence could be moving toward that grade level. So you're not necessarily reporting all on grade 6. You may be pulling from 4 and 5 to determine where a student is on that progression toward the grade level outcome. Now, I will have more formal, I'm just in the process of approvals with people who have more authority than me to be able to give you some distinct messaging around it. And that will probably come out to principals, to Helmut Kaiser, from Helmut Kaiser, my director, once we have a chance to review it more at the system level, to say what specifically are we required to report on, and then what is that going to say? We know for midpoint, we said it's all of the assessment was based on a progress toward a grade level outcome. We just need to make sure that we're still allowed to say that. And if not, we'll have to create some messaging for you, for parents, for that to happen. So more to come on that. Finally, we have some end of year assessment timelines that we're building out. More information is going to be provided at the May 3rd DLCT meeting. The team is going to be sharing, we've got the time on that day 6 meeting with our DLCTs. So you can check back with them after May 3rd to get more information around sort of those end of year assessments. And Danielle is also building that out for the French immersion as well. And then we have our PAT updates. Again, yoo-hoo! I know we said a lot of prayers. And at every meeting, I said we were really advocating. You need to know this was a culmination of much advocating that was happening to say this is not right. We should not have to be doing provincial achievement tests for grade 6 with this curriculum because there's, especially in math, such big gaps. And we need time, yes, celebrate, to be able to really support them. But we are going to have field testing offered between April and June. Again, they're optional tests, but they're going to help inform our future PATs. So it is up to you, and it's solely up to teachers' discretion. This was very clear. Helmut Kaiser, again, my director, just sent out an email this morning to all principals, elementary principals, giving them this information, but I just wanted to highlight it here. We are really encouraging grade 6 teachers to sign up. The principals, you have the link to how to do that in the email Helmut sent you, but email me if you've got any questions. But they're optional. They can be done on the digital platform on Veretta, which will give you that opportunity to look, but also to show Alberta Education what is and what isn't working. So my hope would be that if we are doing field testing, that we then would be able to say, you know, this one is 22%, 22%, you know, then maybe they'll drop that out of the curriculum itself. So again, I encourage it, but it's totally optional. It's teachers' discretion on whether or not you'd be participating. There is a question in the chat, and I'm going to address that at the end if I can. Again, teachers, the cool thing about it is, like all field testing, teachers will have the opportunity to score the field test locally, so they can again provide you with some insight. Again, we don't report those anywhere, and it's not public. That's just another triangulation opportunity for you. We don't report or use PAT results in grade 6 achievement tests or in final progress reports. We don't use that as part of the mark, but it is something that you can use again to help gauge that professional judgment. PATs for science, French, and social, they remain the same for this year, so they will be moving forward. They're going to exist the current program of studies. But if you are in grade 6 science and French Filal, if you're optionally implementing it this year, you can choose to participate in field testing if you would like. But otherwise, you may choose to opt out of it completely. And then more information again is sent out to principals. I believe once, to answer Melissa's question, if the principal, if you click on the link, you will likely be able to indicate which field tests you want to participate in. But again, we will provide more updates at the DLCT meeting, because that's our next team check-in with your schools. And again, more information will come out directly about the math reporting at the end of the year, directly from Helmut, or it could be coming out when we meet on May 28th for our final virtual set meeting. Jody and Ed Tech just wanted me to share this with you. There's a lot of Veretta sessions happening. They've just been doing a complete blitz on this. So please know that if you have any questions about that, to email edtech@CSSD. But there is some sessions coming up on PD for you. Teachers, April 10th, DLCTs, April 11th, and an EA session on May 7th. And the cool thing is, if you go into the PAT and Diploma EPD site, there's just a ton of information, and I've linked those direct links into this presentation as well, that you know you have access to. So looking ahead to 2024-25, I'm looking over at Jen Perry because she's going to talk a little bit about social studies.
Hello, am I actually sitting with new curriculum right now? My time has come.
Not really,
Not
kinda.
yet, not yet. Okay, so the Have You Say survey closed on April 2nd. Thank you to all those who participated. I was told by Alberta Ed that there was a lot of participation, so that's great. If you didn't get to look at it, there's still the link to the social studies subject overview and draft that you can look at. And then there'll be more information to come at the end of May, but here is the timeline and the link to the document. Okay, so let's review some, based on this release of the draft, some bright spots and some points to ponder. So the bright spot is having the same curriculum architect of ELAL, PLAL, math, and science can really streamline with cross-curricular planning. Kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 6 have similar outcomes to current program of studies. So teachers will be able to utilize current resources. And it is an improvement from previous draft, as it is much more age appropriate. So a few points to ponder. Point number one is there is a lack of conceptual social studies framework to guide instruction and make curriculum relevant to students. Another point is First Nations, Métis, and Inuit worldviews and perspectives are limited, as well as the diverse identities in Alberta today. And there's a really heavy focus on knowledge with a limited skills and procedures that emphasize critical and complex thinking. Okay, so thinking about the three rocks, based on the review of the draft as it is, there are some big rocks that Calgary Catholic School District could focus on to support strong social studies learning experiences for our students. The first big rock, thinking like a social scientist, would focus on Canadian identity and diverse perspectives. With integrative thinking, similar to our current program of studies where there is opportunities for historical, geographical, demographic, economic thinking. Another big rock to focus on is Indigenous worldviews, thinking of Indigenous ways of knowing, being, and doing with the ultimate goal of truth and reconciliation. It's really that reconciliation. Another rock is active citizenship, where our ultimate goal is for our students to be informed citizens, where they have knowledge of media literacy and current events, and they are able to take on authentic civic action. Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. So for K-6 piloting, a question comes up is, based on that timeline, we see some piloting happening in September 2024. And the answer to that is to be determined. Until we see a final draft or more direction, we'll have to make that decision as we go. Jen and I certainly have plans and ideas and ways that we could bring a pilot to life and fruition, which is important. And what we learned from the last couple of years is when we are involved in piloting, we're able to provide feedback that informs the final draft. And again, we see some of the challenges we have with math and ELAL right now is because it was only piloted with like 4 schools, jurisdictions. And so there wasn't a ton of feedback that they received. So there's pros and cons with piloting. And like Jen said, there's, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 6 content, not too different. If it stayed the same, then we likely could utilize some of the resources we already have. So it might be worth it. So we're going to kind of make those decisions, and more information we'll share once we have more information about what this final draft looks like based on the most recent feedback. So we'll give you, stay tuned, more information coming out. All right, so hot off the press, our communities of practice. So we had an overwhelming number of teachers expressing interest to be part of our science community of practice. We know we're mandated to implement grade 4 to 6 science and 4 to 6 PLAL next year. And we had many grade 4 to 6 science teachers put their names forward, which was incredible. So we have selected, we went up from 12, they negotiated, the consultants negotiated and they got 3 more. So they tried to get as many as possible. So we have 15 teachers that will be, communications will be coming out from our consultant, Jolene Munt, to principals and to those teachers to let you know, to give you some dates. We'll be meeting twice in May, twice in June. So we're really excited to get digging into that 4 to 6 science curriculum, and more information will be coming. Jolene will also notify those teachers who were not selected, just to let you know that we appreciate the interest, and there will be opportunities for working groups. So you're not off the hook yet. We will pull together, those interested people as well, and try to engage you as much, because we appreciate the teacher leadership and our communities of practice, because we could not do the level of resources and support of PD that we're providing without your guidance and your co-creation along the way these last couple of years. So it's just such a perfect model to be responsive to schools and teachers. So thank you so much for that. We're going to continue. Danielle is also, of course, going to have her, she's already got it happening this year with maybe a few changes, but we've got our 6 teachers engaged already in reviewing that 4 to 6 PLL, which will be implemented next year. And due to the gaps and the multiple years of learning and bridging that has to happen between 4 to 6 and 7 to 9, and that overlap of curriculum, we're expanding out our communities of practice to grade 4 to 9. So we've built out a community practice of teachers bridging grade 4 to 9 to help do some cross-connecting around that curriculum for next year, and to determine some next steps to support teachers in that work. And then finally, depending, like we said, depending on whether or not the K to 6 social studies and where the pilot is, we may pull together some people to support that work as well. And then Kim just asked a question. I thought 4 to 6 was all required to implement new science curriculum. Yeah, Jolene is going to answer that question there, and then we'll be ready to go. Because we know at the end of the day, even though this has been a lot of paddling these last couple of years, and sometimes we're paddling before we even have the oars to start paddling, the resources to help us move forward. Your creativity, your resilience, your innovation has really come through. And the end of the day, we know kids can't learn. We can't learn until we feel safe enough to try and brave enough to do the work, right? So thank you for, I know we do this for students, but thank you to you for coming alongside us in this journey, and for really helping to guide and lead the work. We are here to help you, as always. We are so grateful and excited when we get to come out and be part of this. We're only an email away. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need any help whatsoever. And in closing, and I actually can't believe it, we made it on time. I thought we were going to have to go later, but we're good. And so just if you wouldn't mind, please just giving us a bit of feedback, just 2 questions about a gem from today, and then what questions or comments or requests you have for us. And I will send out that invite over the next week or so for the May 28th virtual set meeting, but jot it, pencil it on your calendars. May 28th will, for 4 to 5:30 will be our next and final set rep meeting. So thank you to all of you, and we wish you a wonderful night.